We live in a world that has been designed and architectured by men for men. From the way our societies or workplaces are built to the latest trends in health and fitness, it's a man's world and we're just living in it. The problem with that is that men and women are built so differently. Men have cycles that only last 24 hours and that rely solely on testosterone, whereas women are way more complex beings. We have cycles that last between 28 to 30 days and that rely on estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. So it's no wonder that what might work for men might not always work for women. But this video is not going to be about criticizing and bashing patriarchy. I'm not really into that. This video is going to be all about understanding our hormonal cycle better. My hopes is that by the end of this video, you switch your mindset when it comes to your menstrual cycle. I want you to stop seeing it as a weakness and as an inconvenience and start seeing it as your superpower, because it really can be that. Instead of living, or should I say surviving, in a man's world, how about we start thriving in it? So ladies, grab a pen or a pencil because you might want to take some notes for this one. What is cycle syncing? I feel like I need to preface this video with a big fat disclaimer. I am not a doctor. I am not an endocrinologist. I can't even say the word. I'm just a girl who had some issues with her menstrual cycle and decided to go out and find answers to help herself. So please, please, please do not take whatever I say in this video as the ultimate truth. You need to do your own research and also find the right doctors that are going to be able to accompany you with whichever hormonal problems that you may have. And now that we have got that out of the way, class is in session. Let's get into it. If you haven't heard of cycle syncing before, it's basically when you start adjusting your lifestyle and your diet to support your body better in each phases of your menstrual cycle. It's when you finally start living in harmony with your cycle and your body. Now, to do that, you need to understand your cycle better. To understand what are the 4 phases of your menstrual cycle, how are your hormones fluctuating during that cycle, and how are those fluctuations impacting your health and your mental health. When I first heard about cycle syncing, I was mind blown because all of a sudden, a lot of things made sense. But mostly, I was very surprised that we did not learn about any of this at school, because this is way more practical to me than learning some random mathematical theorem that I'm never going to use again in my life. Another thing that I want to say is that getting a better understanding of such an integral part of your health is going to arm you with the knowledge that you need to make more informed decisions when it comes to the latest health and fitness trends that you want to try and those that you really want to stay away from. Because knowledge is power after all. For instance, when those trends like the keto diet or HIIT workouts or like intermittent fasting come out boasting such incredible results, what you don't know is that most of those trends are tested mainly on men because they are a less nuanced sample than women are. If they were to test the same things on women, there would be so many more parameters to take into consideration, and they might not get the black and white conclusions that they expect. They would have something with plenty of asterisks, and that is not sexy at all. So hopefully learning about your cycle is going to help you understand yourself better and make better choices. So without further ado, let's get into it. Our menstrual cycle 101. First, let's get an overview of how your menstrual cycle is structured. It is made up of 4 phases. The first one is the menstruation phase, which is also known as the bleeding phase. It usually lasts between 2 or 7 days, and this is basically when your uterus is shedding the lining, so that is why you're bleeding. The next one is the follicular phase, and it lasts between 7 to 10 days, and it is basically when the egg in the follicle is maturing and is getting ready to be released. Then we have the ovulation phase, which is when your egg is released. It usually lasts between 1 or 3 days, and this is the moment in your cycle where you're going to be very fertile. And lastly, we have the luteal phase, which is the longest phase of your cycle because it lasts between 10 to 14 days. In this phase, phase, the lining of your cycle is going to thicken and be held in place just in case there is a pregnancy. And if not, that lining is going to be shed, which is going to bring us back to the menstruation phase. One thing that you need to understand is that during those 4 phases, our hormones are going to fluctuate a lot, and those fluctuations have a direct impact on how you feel, your energy, and how your brain works. Some people even go as far as to say that they have 4 different brains and 4 different personalities during their cycles. And I think we can all relate on that sometimes, right? Now let's do a deep dive on each of those 4 phases of your cycle so you get a better understanding of how your hormones are fluctuating and how they are going to impact your mental and physical health. Starting with menstruation. As I mentioned, the first one is menstruation, which is basically when you are on your period, and during that time, your estrogen and progesterone levels are very low, kind of like the lowest of your cycle. So this is why you end up feeling kind of like low on energy and you don't really feel like doing much. So you need to go with the flow here, no pun intended, but you need to give yourself some grace. Try to avoid any type of high cardio or high intensity workouts and opt for more gentle movements. Yoga, Pilates, walking, all of those are really great for this time. Now, to support your health better and to kind of like combat the fatigue that you might be feeling, it is kind of like suggested that you eat more high protein and high fat and less carbs, and you also make sure to replenish your iron because clearly you are losing some. So eat stuff like leafy greens and lean meats, and you'll see you'll get your energy a little bit higher. Next up is the follicular phase. When it comes to the menstrual cycle, I find that looking at it from a very primal, basic perspective can help. What I mean by that is that we have been programmed to reproduce ourselves and save our species. This is as basic as it gets. So between the menstruation phase and the ovulation phase, everything about us is going to be all about finding a mate in order to procreate. This is why during the follicular phase, as our estrogen levels are rising and also our progesterone, we find ourselves being more extrovert. We found ourselves with better skin and less bloat, overall becoming more and more attractive. Everything about us is made for us to get out of our way, get out of our comfort zone, socialize, and just go for it. Even on a brain level, you'll see that during that phase, you'll find yourself hyper motivated, hyper ambitious, just like boiling with energy and the wish to start new projects and the wish to do like a million things. And I'm sure you felt that already, right? Like those days where you wake up full of energy, ready to conquer the world and just make things happen for you. Well, ladies, that is the follicular phase for you. Another thing to keep in mind here is that in this phase, your progesterone is still kind of low, and so is your resting metabolic rate, which is basically the amount of calories that you burn at rest. So what that means is that you want to have a diet that is more leaner and more fresh than a diet that is heavy with carbs, right? Because you don't need those extra calories. And also what that means is that you might want to take on a little bit more at the gym because you need to boost your metabolic rate a little bit. So in this phase, I personally prefer a diet that is more centered around protein and fiber to keep me full and energized, and a little bit less carbs because I know that I don't need it, and to be honest, like I actually don't crave it at that time of the month. The ovulation phase. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the ovulation phase. This is when your follicle is going to release your egg. And this is when you're going to be the most fertile. And once again, you'll see that everything about you is going to be promoting that potential fertilization of your egg. This is a time of the month where you'll be the most beautiful. You'll be the most glowy, and you'll just have like the most magnetism about you. Your skin is going to be at its best. Your body is going to look phenomenal, and all of this to attract a potential mating partner. And it goes beyond your physical appearance. Even on your brain level, it's going to be much more optimized for communication and negotiation. So aside from unveiling that little seductress in you, this is the best time to do any type of like public speaking or big meetings or like, important pitches. This is a time where your personality and your magnetism is going to shine through, and you're going to have a much easier time convincing people. And in terms of how your hormones are fluctuating at this point, this is the time where your estrogen levels are at its highest, and you're going to feel it because you're going to feel so much full of energy. So this is also the time where you can go a little harder on yourself when it comes to your workout, right? So cardio, HIIT workouts, I don't know, cycling, spinning, or like weight training, you name it, you can go for it. And as for your diet, you might have experienced this before, but this is a time where you want to go for like leaner meals and more fresh meals because you don't need that much energy, and you might actually not feel attracted to like a big hot meal at this point. I personally feel that during ovulation, I am not really attracted to like the big warm meals. I am more attracted to like salads and just like fresh meals, and even like a lot of food. I eat so much food. I realized like during my ovulation, I would just have like a lot of cut mango and jicama and just like fresh stuff that are light but that are still giving me the energy that I need to go about my day, and that I know are supporting me at its best for the next phase. Which brings us to the luteal phase. Last but not least is the luteal phase, which is also like the least preferred phase of, the cycle in general, because as women, we tend to feel a little bit like more moody at that time, and we feel low on energy, and we have more discomfort in our bodies. But before getting into like how you can relieve yourself from all this discomfort, let's try to like get a closer look of what is happening at this point on a hormonal level. During the luteal phase, your body actually thinks that it is pregnant at this point. Your estrogen levels have dropped down already, but your progesterone is really, really rising because it is really working into like thickening the lining of your uterus. And it is doing so to provide the coziest nest for this potential baby. So in this phase, you are programmed to be nesting and protecting your potential future baby, right? And that is also why you'll find yourself be way more introverted and not at all enticed by the idea of like meeting new people and having to socialize. As another consequence of this higher progesterone level in your body, your metabolic rate is also going to be a little bit higher at this point of the month. And I'm sure you've experienced this, right? This is the part of the month where we have those like cravings, where we want like those more comfort and more sweet treats as well. And that is because our body actually needs those additional 200 to 300 calories to help us just like power through. And on top of that, since your metabolic rate is a little bit higher already, you might want to slow down your workout routine. And instead of going for like cardio, high intensity, or like heavyweight training, just opt for moves that are much more gentle and have lower intensity, like yoga, walking, or Pilates. Because for you to push your body too much in the luteal phase might be very counterproductive, and here's why. Remember, at this point of the month, your body actually thinks that it is protecting a baby, right? Like it has a baby inside you that it is protecting. So anything that is too harsh on you might seem like a threat to you and your potential baby. So if you do decide to go all out and do those crazy workouts, your body is going to feel stressed, and it is going to trigger the production of cortisol, your stress hormone. But the thing is, with cortisol, when it surpasses a certain level, it has a very negative impact on progesterone. It kind of recede and lower the production of progesterone, which is going to impact your fertility, your menstrual cycle as a whole, but also your weight management. No, but seriously though, at this time of the month, it's time to go all out on self-care and really be as gentle as you can with yourself. So do more meditation, do more journaling, engage in those hobbies that you love so much. Just take care of yourself and take it easy. Nutrition-wise, and as I mentioned before, this is a time of the month where your metabolic rate is already a little bit higher. So this is a time where you can indulge and have those treats that you love so much and add those complex carbs to your diet in order to support your energy levels. One thing that I do want to say, and that might be a little hot take, but I want to say that if you are someone that does intermittent fasting, this stage, like the luteal phase, you want to refrain from doing any sort of intermittent fasting whatsoever because it can be very counterproductive. Intermittent fasting is a stressor on the body, so especially at this time of the month, you want to really skip it altogether because it might impact your progesterone levels negatively and promote fat storage. And in terms of your brain power, it is following the same mood as everything else. You want to take it easy. So, anything that you started in your follicular phase, follow up on that and make sure that you bring it to completion. And, just do those administrative tasks that require a little less creativity. All right, there you have it, the 4 phases of your menstrual cycle explained to the best of my abilities, and I hope you found it interesting. When I was in my late teens, I had very, very painful periods, like so painful that sometimes it would make me sick and I would not be able to do anything else. And I just thought it was normal. It was just, that time of the month where you were supposed to feel miserable. But for some reason, after some years, those symptoms kind of like faded away. I don't know if I made any changes to my diet or like my lifestyle, but they did go away. But in the last 2 years, I have experienced PMDD. If you don't know what it is, it stands for premenstrual dysphoric disorder, and it is basically like experiencing a mini depression. It lasts 3 to 5 days, just the week before your period, and it is no fun at all. The way that I would describe it is basically I would wake up this morning with this dark, huge cloud on me, and just everything would just be very dull. I would feel so sad, I would feel so lonely and so empty. And I would not understand why, like there would be no apparent reason for me to feel that way, yet I was going through it. And then the minute my period starts, it's like everything went away and I feel bright and I feel alive again. It made me crazy. And after talking to a few women, I learned that some of those women that were going through PMDD were actually misdiagnosed with bipolar disorder. That's how crazy those symptoms were. But the thing is, they were prescribed very harsh drugs that then really wrecked their metabolism and their hormonal cycles and systems in general. And I was like, I want to stay away from that. I want to go and have a more holistic approach to my, to whatever was happening to me. So that is when I dug deeper and I deep dove into hormonal health and learned everything about, the menstrual cycle and how I could support my system a little bit better. And that is also when I realized that before I was really not working with my body, I was pretty much working against it. I used to think that HIIT workouts, intense cardio, and heavy weight training and no carbs at all were the only way to do life. But that left me with PMDD, mood swings, and my movements left me feeling swollen and inflamed instead of, feeling toned and lean. But ladies, the minute that I started cycle syncing, it felt like everything went back to its place. I felt like myself again, and it's been almost a year now and I haven't had any PMDD episode, and it feels so good. When you understand your body, your hormones, and your menstrual cycle better, and you use nutrition and fitness as tools to support you throughout this process, everything becomes smoother. You don't have any mood swings, you feel so much more at home in your body. And I am even going as far as saying your PMS symptoms can disappear. Men can do those high intensity workouts and extreme fasting day in and day out, but that should not mean that we need to do the same. We live in a world where, the health and fitness trends have mostly been designed by men for men. So it is not shocking that what works for them does not work for us. There is nothing wrong with our bodies. Our bodies are just so different, and I think it is just time that we start recognizing that difference and we start honoring it. And listen, before ending this video, I just want to say I do recognize that when I say things like, oh, in this phase, this is how your brain works, so this activity is more suitable for you, it's not really practical information, especially if you have like a proper 9-to-5 job, because you're not gonna be like, hey boss, I can't do this presentation today because I'm in my luteal. I mean, how ridiculous and hilarious would that be? But that is not the point. The point is really to just give you a bit more knowledge for you to understand better why you might feel a certain way within times of the month. And anyways, like the real tools lies within your nutrition and your fitness, both things that are fully under your control and that can have the most tremendous impact on your hormonal health. All right, I am done talking. I hope I was not too boring and that you found some value in this video. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I truly appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It means the world to me, and I will see you soon for another video.